First News with Keeler in the morning on WIBX and WIBX950.com.
Retired U.S. Army Colonel Dr. Michael Lewis is an infectious disease specialist and is on the line right now. Colonel, good morning. Thanks so much for coming on.
Oh, good morning. How's everybody doing today?
Well, we're all vaccinated in here, all of us. We're all ready to go. So, and half of us in studio have had the virus back in December. So, what do you think? Does this put us in a position where, we're feeling a little off? No need to get tested because we've had the vaccine.
Well, it's never a bad idea to confirm whether or not you have the disease.
Yeah.
And, the vaccine is, while it's incredibly effective, it's not 100%. And there are different variants out there. But the really good news is that the vaccine seems to be, all the different vaccines seem to be very effective against all these new variants that are coming out. It may not keep you from getting COVID, but it certainly seems to be very effective at keeping it from being a bad disease. A lot of keeping people out of the hospital, keeping people from dying.
One thing I've noticed is it is not as easy to get to get a test. And in fact, you like up here, it used to be just so. I guess you can still go out at the former Air Force Base, and but for everywhere you went, you could get tested. Now it's like, well, we're going to bill your insurance. You have to have an appointment. I think we've lessened the dedication to the testing. And I'm not sure that's a good thing.
Well, at some point this was going to turn into a little bit more like testing that we do for influenza or strep throat, that type of thing. It's going to basically become more of a provider or emergency room or hospital-based type of thing, whereas the urgency early on, of course, was like get testing out there.
Right.
These mass testing sites to get people tested, to know what's going on out there. But I think we're kind of over that emergency phase, if you will, and this is where it's going to go, is become sort of a part of our routine care. When you've got a cold or sniffles, you're getting tested not just for flu, but you're getting tested for COVID as well. Yeah,
the doctor will say, I don't think you have it, but just to be safe, let's check. And even if you do get it, as you had said, if you've been vaccinated, it seems to be lessening the case and doing a really good job of keeping people out of the hospital.
Absolutely. And, that's the biggest thing is, of course, keeping people from dying. Hospitals aren't always the best places to be. There are lots of sick people there. It might be a new thing to most people to realize that's what hospitals are for. But it's, if we can keep people out of hospitals and keep particularly the respiratory issues that happen with COVID, if we can keep those under good control, part of it is also that we're learning that certain medications and certain protocols work so much better that we didn't know a year ago. So that really helps as well.
I am reading some stories, though, where there are number is low, but there are cases where people who have been vaccinated have contracted COVID-19 and have died.
It's extremely rare, from what I understand.
Okay,
and so that's the good news. So if you've been vaccinated, it doesn't, like we've been saying, it doesn't keep you from necessarily getting a new disease, a new variant, but it certainly has been very effective at keeping people keeping people alive, if you will.
Did you, as a retired Army colonel and an infectious disease specialist, did you worry about something like this 10 years ago during your career at any time?
I was worried about it 20 years ago. So there's a couple of things. One was I created a system little over 20 years ago to track these types of things using, data mining and looking at the Department of Defense data, and then that expanded to greater things. It's the basis, the program that the CDC uses. But then I was stationed in Southeast Asia, and my job was to look for these things, look for these new and interesting diseases, and I was over there when SARS and bird flu happened. So I've been in this business a while.
And then what are your thoughts on, there's been a lot of talk of long-haul symptoms. I had the virus in December. I clearly blame certain symptoms that I'm dealing with right now on the fact that I had COVID. Now, it might be a misunderstanding. It might be I was going to get these symptoms anyway, but I don't know how you can't start to point towards COVID for things not just smell and taste, but beyond that.
Well, we have to understand that one of the main ways that COVID affects our body is it creates a reaction, an inflammatory reaction. And so just like chemotherapy also does a number on people's brains, and they call it chemo brain, that fogginess after chemotherapy or after a traumatic brain injury. What you have to understand is the underlying thing that makes all these things united is inflammation. Yeah. And so COVID is very effective at creating this inflammatory reaction, which is basically what, ends you up in the hospital and kills you when you overreact to it. So it's getting that inflammation under control, and that's really, back to the basics, diet and exercise.
The fun stuff. Diet and exercise.
That everybody wants to do.
That's right. So, all right, very interesting. Very interesting. And you recommend that people do get vaccinated, I assume.
It's the best thing we've got going. I said from the beginning, it's going to take a leap in technology, and we've seen that, and that's exciting.
Really is incredible what we've done in a year.
It really is.
Yeah. Colonel Mike Lewis, thank you so much for your service and for coming on this morning.
No, my pleasure.
Have a great day. And by the way, today is Flag Day, the day where you would fly your flag and do it with great pride.